Excuse me, Professor. Excuse me. I, wanted to ask about the due dates for the, assignments. Like, when are they due?
Have you seen the RSA Animate version of Sir Ken Robinson's famous TED Talk called Schools Kill Creativity?
I've heard about it, I think. Is that the one where he asks why human beings are mostly educated in batches by age, as though the most important thing about us that we have in common is our date of manufacture?
That is indeed the one.
I saw that. He talks about a need to liberate students by fostering more divergent thinking.
Like the rebels in the Divergent books and films?
Kind of like that. But no. Not really.
I know. I was kidding. Kind of. So, what I want to know is, who's on first?
Seriously? Abbott and Costello? Ha. I don't know.
Third base. So, what are the deadlines for our work?
It all depends on which of the 5 divergent factions you're in, whether you're part of abnegation, the selfless, amity, the peaceful, candor, the honest, dauntless, the brave, or erudite, the intelligent.
Are you kidding me?
Of course, sort of. You guys brought up the Divergent series, but in a sense we can apply the notion of the factions and their various dispositions if you like, although that sci-fi series depicts a dystopia, a horrible future. Our goal in this class, as in all classes about sustainability, is to help create a self-perpetuating utopia, a good place.
So how do you relate the dispositions in Divergent and the creative divergent thinking described by Sir Ken Robinson that you want to foster in this class with the due dates and deadlines for our deliverables?
Great question. The first point I would like to make is that you are all different.
I'm not.
Monty Python, Life of Brian. Brilliant. Yes, except for you, we are all different.
So does that imply that we all have different due dates and deadlines?
First, I want to point out that in our quest for sustainability, we would rather offer lifelines than demand deadlines. Sustainability is a life-affirming science. We don't peddle in death except to find ways to recycle dead things back into living systems. So in this class, we've recycled deadlines into lifelines.
What's a lifeline then?
A lifeline connects each individual and their work to all the other individuals in the network, in the nexus, in a peer-to-peer nexus network. Instead of going many to one, with all students funneling their work to a single teacher, we use network theory to consider each individual as a node in a many-to-many network. And our instruction is also many-to-many, not one-to-many as in the typical lecture model. The class is a dialectic, a dialogue, a part of the great conversation. Your relational summaries, your presentations, your contributions are an essential part of that conversation.
So how does this operate in the real world? When are things due?
Why don't you try to answer that according to your divergent disposition? Go on, be brave, like Tris Pryor the Dauntless in the books. I have no a priori answer.
Good pun. Okay, I'll take a stab at it. Based on my self-conception as one of the erudite, I would say that things are due as soon as you do them. At least that's how I would like to do things.
I can live with that, as long as you do them consistently and not pile everything on me at the last minute. As the individual tasked with reading or watching and evaluating all your material and awarding it points, and responsible for your grades, I would get overwhelmed if everything came in toward the midterm or the final. Then I wouldn't be able to pay attention to it or engage with it, and your grades could suffer.
Fair enough. I think the first thing we have to acknowledge is that despite the fact that we are all different, except for me, we are all human with the usual limitations of time and space and energy and attention. If we put ourselves in your shoes with empathy and apply the golden rule, it becomes pretty obvious how we should go about submitting our deliverables.
It's not obvious to me. What if I'm the sort of person who prefers procrastination and I want to wait until the last minute to get everything done?
Well, then you would risk not having your work considered.
I'm not saying I would dump everything on him on the last day of the semester, but what if I'm like Leo Tolstoy, who whittled away at each of his novels over time and then finished a whole bunch of them all at once? I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I like to nibble away at projects until everything falls into place.
Then maybe you make an individual deal with the professor so he is prepared for your deluge of completed works and can make time to read your War and Peace and Anna Karenina all at once.
Or, and this is my preference, you pace yourselves, and if you are the sort that takes your time to complete things, you turn in progress reports on a regular basis. Look, one of the ways you can guarantee your success in this class is by posting your weekly relational summary of our class lectures, presentations, and discussions. It acts as a safety net and gives you a super productive way to use your attendance and attention in the notes you take and turn them into value-added products. If you do the relational summary every week and make it at least a page long, you're guaranteed to earn enough points to pass the class. Then you take those notes and relational summaries and, working alone or with others, turn them into something creative, some product that demonstrates your understanding of the concepts of sustainability being discussed here and communicates it in the most impactful way that you can imagine and come up with.
But creativity is scary. It takes a lot of time, and it carries a high risk to reward ratio.
That's precisely why the psychologist Rollo May wrote his profound book, The Courage to Create. It does take courage, but you don't have to be a Divergent dauntless to do it, especially not when we all use all of our talents and personalities to help each other. And you get paid for everything you do in this class, as long as you turn it in on Canvas. It doesn't have to be a finished product, just as long as you post stuff consistently and let us know how you're doing.
You mean turn in unfinished work?
Yeah, sure. Like many artists and many scientific collaborators, you share works in progress. And not just with me. You have to get away from the old one-to-many and many-to-one networking model and embrace true, decentralized peer-to-peer systems. The buck stops with me, but we want to co-create material of highest impact using the collaborative model.
So you want me to share my unripened fruit, my not yet ready for prime time ideas with others?
It depends on your personality trope. I'm not expecting you all to be part of the abnegation faction, the selfless, and give everything away. But if you look at the open source model of creation used increasingly in IT, you will see that in our highly networked, interconnected world, and particularly in science, the open sharing of ideas and techniques creates a much richer and productive culture and economy. Since there is no competition in this class, you should feel free to share with one another as you go along and actually get help from one another in creating your deliverables. We call that group work.
So you want us to work in groups?
I'm not demanding it like many other teachers, I'm suggesting it. But ultimately, I honor your individual learning and production style. We force nothing. We encourage everything that works, everything that is sustainable.
So, I have an idea. How about if each one of us creates a contract with you and the rest of the class, stating how we would like best to handle our deadlines and due dates and deliverables, and use those contracts to help each other get the most out of the class with the least stress.
Precisely what I was going to suggest. Some of you will want very rigid deadlines. Go ahead and make them. We support you. Some of you want more flexibility. Okay, tell us that so we can help you make sure you don't let things slide into oblivion, or even further, as the Beatles would say. But each of you should customize your own schedule and share it, as colleagues do in the real world in a creative space where all are equals. I can dictate my lectures, but I'm not a dictator.
But to be honest, as a perfectionist procrastinator, I want more structure. I need more structure, or I'm afraid I will just let things slide, and then we'll all suffer.
That's okay. The point I think the professor is making, or at least the point I would make, is that you can choose your structure. Ultimately, you are responsible for it anyway. We should each create our own preferred structure, Set the kind of schedule and deadlines with due dates that fit in best with our personalities and the reality of our life challenges, and then stick to it. You can do that, can't you?
Well, sure. But I am always used to having other people create my schedule for me. I guess I've been trained to follow orders my whole life.
You mean like Sir Ken Robinson talks about in How Schools Kill Creativity. But that was the industrial factory model of education designed to produce unthinking workers who would mostly do unfulfilling jobs they hated and not rebel. We are being given the chance here to each and all be our own bosses, working as respectful colleagues. I'm in sustainable entrepreneurship, so this style suits me just fine.
Yeah. I know. McGregor's theory why of autodidactic self-motivated management styles as opposed to the top-down theory X management style. I get it. I'm just not used to it.
Actually, I prefer Uichi's Theory Z, System of Profound Knowledge, which was popularized during the Asian economic boom of the 1980s. This is a managing style that focuses on a strong company philosophy, a distinct corporate culture, long-range staff development, and consensus decision-making. I think if we apply Theory Z to classes in sustainability, we can go a long way toward imparting and internalizing that profound knowledge that is necessary to achieve true sustainability.
Okay, I'll buy that. So, when are the assignments due?